In this video, I'm going to tell you why I started building Gunpla and why maybe you should think about doing it too. Hey, I'm John. Thanks for joining me for this video today. When I was a kid, I built all sorts of models. I built airplanes, I built tanks, I built spaceships and trucks and soldiers, and it all merged together. There were plastic soldiers, there were plastic models, there was Lego. When you're a kid, you just play with it all. I painted everything. I painted my little Star Wars figures. I painted my G.I. Joes. I painted my models. I painted Legos. So I was all over the board when it came to that kind of play, that kind of building as a kid. And when I was maybe, as many guys my age did, when I was about 15 or so, I started discovering, playing guitar and doing sports and girls, and all of that drew me away from plastic modeling. And it wasn't a conscious decision. I just noticed looking back, I quit building models. And so I started doing other things. And then as time went by, went to a couple of years of community college, joined the Army, got married, began having kids. You get the mortgage and the car payments and all of those things. And quite a few years went by. Sometime in early 2006, my family and I, we would go to a local coffee shop and I'd pick up a few magazines and read them, and we'd sit and sip our coffee and read the magazines. And my wife noticed I kept picking up model building magazines, and she said, "Why don't you build a model?" I said, "Well, that's for kids. I did that when I was a kid. I'm a grown man now. Don't need that kind of silliness." Anyway. But she saw that I kept looking at them and looking at them and looking at them. And so finally, for my birthday in 2006, she got me a model and some glue and some paints and said, "Here, build one." And I thought, well, I'll humor her and I'll build one, get it done with, get it out of my system. Well, it became a hobby, and one that really bit me, because in that first year I built about 12 or 15 models. And then in the second year I built over 20. And suddenly I began building model after model after model until sometime in mid-2017 I had built 275 models, mostly single-engine aircraft, World War II aircraft, lots of Spitfires. Lots of Spitfires. And I started getting burned out on it. I mean, it became less of a hobby and more like, me telling old war stories when I started talking about building models. I remember we were coming back from the 7-Eleven. We'd picked up a shipment of RC Cola and moon pies. There were 8 of us boys then, riding along, happy, not having a care in the world. We saw a hobby shop ahead, so we stopped. Many of the boys did. 8 of us went in, but only, 8 of us came out, but not without model airplanes. Oh, we built different model airplanes. Some built Tamiya, some built Edward. Poor little Jimmy, he built Special Hobby. We never heard from him again. But those airplanes, they get into you, and you sit there and you wonder, when is it going to be me? When am I going to build 275 airplanes? and it's all you can think about. Well, that and getting some cheese sticks and maybe a cup of coffee every now and then. Anyway. Okay, so all goofiness aside, I built all those airplanes and I just got burned out on them. Maybe it was the pace that I built at, you know, just cranking out essentially a kit every 2 weeks. Maybe it was that was a little too much for me. Maybe it was just focusing on one thing for so long. I kind of did a year-long foray into adding in some jets, but it didn't really satisfy me. So in the summer of 2017, I was looking at, you know, maybe I just need to get out of the hobby for a while, maybe permanently. I just wasn't having fun with it. I was selling everything I built and doing things on commission, and it was just a job. And a hobby ain't a job, and a job ain't a hobby. So about that time, I went to visit one of the local hobby shops and thought, I'll just look around and see if anything sparks my interest. I'd been talking with a friend of mine about these Gundam things. I asked him, I said, hey, there seems to be, you know, a few people in the world who build these. Little did I know. And I said, what do you know about them? And he said, they're you know, snap together kits. They fit really well. They're pre-colored, so you don't have to paint them. You know, a lot of kids build them. So I'm like, you know, I liked building things as a kid like that. Maybe that'll spark some fun. So I dropped by a local hobby shop and went and looked at these mysterious Gundam kits. Now, I had no idea what any of them were. I had never seen any of the anime. I didn't know any of the designations or names or distinctions, any of it. And I'm picking these things up, and there's these giant fighting robot looking things. I know they're not robots. And I mean, some of them looked cool, some of them looked a little weird but cool, you know. And there were these master grades, and there was this giant box that said perfect grade, and you know, then there were the high grades, and then there was a real grade. And I looked at the scales and I understood the scales, but the thing that I'm looking at was, okay, well, this one looks really cool and it's a master grade thingy, and it's like $49. And then I found this little thing that was called high grade, and if I remember right, it was $12, $15. It was actually an Iron Blooded Orphans Gray's Custom, the high grade kit. And you know, I looked at it and I thought, well, it looks kind of cool. I'm not sure why there's this little angry looking dude on the front of the box, and I'm not sure what a Gray's Custom is and why a Gray's Custom is customized over the regular Grays and why you would even call it a Gray's. But it looked kind of cool. So I picked it up figuring, what have I got to lose? If I'm going to get out of the hobby anyway, I'm going to be selling all my stuff anyhow. I took the little kit home. Come on home, little kit. Come on home. Sorry. Now, when I got it home, I discovered a few things. One, the casting of the parts was gorgeous. As a modeler, I could appreciate that. I mean, I'd seen good parts casting, you know, Tamiya and Edward. I had seen some bad parts casting, you know, on very limited run, short run kind of kits, or on others from manufacturers that I won't mention, Special Hobby, and, you know, others like that. So I was really impressed with the parts. And the instructions, even though everything was in Japanese, the instructions were very clear, you know, so I'm looking through at this going, this looks pretty nice. And I thought, okay, instead of painting it and trying to figure out, you know, how to, you know, really make a high level one, let me just do it like a kid, and let me just clip the parts off, just snap it together and see what it looks like, see if it sparks any interest in me. So I sat down one Saturday afternoon and began clipping the parts and cleaning up the nubs and all that process. And I think within an hour and a half, I had the little model snapped up. And I thought, that was kind of fun. And it looks kind of cool. Well, the great thing was, because it was a snap fit model, I took the doggone thing back apart. And I thought, well, okay, let me do some just really rough painting on it. And I wasn't trying to make it look great. I really was just like, okay, let me just do something that's completely atypical from what I normally do. So instead of all the priming and painting and weathering and all that, I just started dry brushing some stuff, just putting some chips on here and there, and just kind of did a rough, very rough paint chip weather job. And I maybe took an hour on it. Snapped it back up. Thought, that looks pretty cool. Wonder if I can do it again. So I took the kit apart, second time. And this time I took it into my airbrush room and I primed it and I painted it. And then I brought it back out here and I weathered it and I did all sorts of stuff with it. And I had a lot of fun. And I thought, I haven't had this kind of fun in years. Well, at that point, the Gundam bug hit me fairly hard. And I ordered a couple of more kits, and a couple of more, and a couple of more, and I started building them. And while I've not stuck exclusively to them, I've pretty much left aircraft building behind, and I'm doing a steady diet of Gundam, Gunpla. Psst, psst, shh, come here. Okay, if you're a Gunpla builder, you know that they're actually Gunpla, which is a portmanteau of Gundam plastic modeling. But this video is directed towards people who don't build them and they don't know the word Gunpla. So I'm going to use the word Gundam most of the time instead. Just for them, okay? But me and you, we know, okay? But shh, okay? Whoa, that was weird. I must have had a bad burrito yesterday. Anyway, I started having a lot of fun with them. And I really started examining, why are they fun? And I came up with a few reasons that for me made sense. And I want to share those so that if maybe you're in a certain genre, maybe it's aircraft, maybe it's armor, maybe it's cars. If you're in a certain genre and you've been building it for a while and you're starting to feel like this just isn't doing what I want, it's not fun anymore, then maybe looking at some Gundam models might be just a ticket out of those doldrums. I'm not necessarily advocating that you completely switch like I did, but it may be a way to kind of cleanse the palate, recharge the batteries, refresh and renew, get a change of mind, a different focus in your attitude. Yeah, it had to be a bad burrito. Okay, without a doubt, the first thing I've got to mention about building Gundam is the fit. I mean, if you've built, say, a very new Tamiya kit, you know how good the fit is on those. Bandai fit is better. And the crazy thing is, it's push fit. They engineered, and I won't get into the engineering processes that they use for it, because for the sake of this video, it doesn't matter. But the things go together like you wouldn't believe. I had never seen models fit the way Bandai Gundam fit together. There's no issues with, well, do the parts line up? Is there something in the way? I can guarantee you, because in the 30 or so Gundam that I've built since I started doing it, if there's ever a fit issue, the problem is me, not the model. I've probably got something turned around and I'm trying to fit two parts together that don't go together. It's literally so good. As long as you follow the instructions, you can't mess it up. The fit is incredible. A second reason that I really like Gunpla, and I'm demonstrating two, because otherwise you wouldn't have understood second. Anyway, a second reason I really like building Gundam is the sheer variety of them. Now, yeah, all of them are stompy robots with arms, legs, and heads and guns. I mean, yeah, they're all like that. And a lot of them, when you first come into it, a lot of them you look at and you go, well, that one looks alike, and that one looks alike, and that one looks alike. But as an aircraft guy, I started thinking about, well, you know, I've built every available mark of Spitfire. And if someone doesn't know Spitfires, I could show them all 84 of the Spitfires that I built. Yes, 84. And they could go, oh, that's cool, but they all look alike. Because when you think about it, most of the marks of Spitfires look pretty much alike, unless you're really, I mean, you may notice, yeah, that one has 3 propellers, and this one has 4, and this weird one down here has 5, but they all look alike. Aircraft look alike. They have wings, they have tails, they have canopies. So it's the same way with Gundam. There's a lot of variety, and I mean a lot of variety. Because it's all make-believe, shh. Anyway, because it's all make-believe, there's an incredible variety of them. And they come in different grades, and you'll figure out what they are. High grade and regular grade, real grade rather, are 1/144th scale. Master grade is 1/100th scale. Perfect grade is 1/60th, and then they have these ones that are the size of a small child called mega size, and they're 1/48th scale. There's other distinctions, but the point is there's different scales and grades. When you start looking across the whole line of models, the choice that you have is so incredible, and you literally could just about build one a day and not build the same model twice in a year. So there's a huge choice that you can select from. Now, another reason that I really enjoy building Gundam is because they're science fiction, they're made up. There's no limit to how you can interpret them. Now, you could take a Spitfire and you could paint it pink and you could put Hello Kitty all over it. And if that's what you like doing, fine. I mean, it's your model. But we all know, we like showing our stuff on social media and on YouTube and on Twitter and Facebook and all of that. And if you put that up in any modeling group, I mean, if you can't even get away with using a slightly wrong shade of olive drab on a model without somebody saying, well, that's not FS 7432.575 there, buddy. You know you're not going to get away with the pink Hello Kitty. Gunpla is much more open to, hey, this is how I interpreted this. And people go, yeah, that's cool, especially if you've got a plausible story behind it. So maybe you want to keep it the same colors that it was in the anime. That's cool, do it that way. Maybe you want to do it clean. Maybe you want to do it weathered. Maybe you want to do more militaristic looking colors or some bright colors that are completely different from what was in the anime. Maybe you want to reimagine the scale. I've seen a few times where people they did a Gunpla, gave it a very militaristic look, and then put it in a setting with human models so that they reimagined the scale to not necessarily be something that's 18 meters tall, but maybe like an armored suit for a guy, you know. So it's more like a RoboCop kind of thing. There's so much interpretation that you can do with these. And when you go and you put it onto a group, when you do share it on social media, people are much, much more likely to go, hey, that's pretty cool. Now, yeah, in any hobby, especially scale modeling, you're going to have your, well, there's no other way to say it, you're going to have your jerks. They're everywhere. But you're not going to have somebody saying, well, you know, that type of dirt wouldn't have been on that tank in Kursk in 1943. Like that dude was there at Kursk in 1943. You have a lot more freedom. You see, the thing you got to understand is Gunpla is freedom. Like, not like free pizza. I mean, free pizza's good, but not like free pizza. Like free speech, man. You know, like in Webster's dictionary, if you look it up, it talks about the word freedom. And freedom, well, it's made up of two words, free and dumb. Because, well, you know what free is. And dumb, well, it's just dumb if it ain't free. So it's freedom. And so Gunpla, that's what Gunpla is, man. It's just freedom, you know? You do what you like. If you want to paint it purple, well, you paint it purple. If you want to paint it yeller, well, you just go ahead and paint it yeller. It's whatever you want to do, man, because, you know, Gunpla is freedom. I read that on the interweb. Some dude said it on a forum. So, you know, I'm figuring if it's on the interwebs, it's got to be true, right? So anyway, the point I'm trying to make is Gunpla is freedom. And freedom is Gunpla. Well, that's pretty deep, man. What the heck am I doing out here in my yard? Okay, another reason that I think giving Gundam a try, and I've lost track of how many reasons there are, so this is the next one. God, John, sometimes you're such an idiot. Anyway, another reason that I think it's good to give Gundam a try, to consider them, is because it's different. It forces you to examine your processes, to examine your methods, to examine the products you use, to see how they work, to think in terms of a different aesthetic. I mean, when I was building aircraft, it got to the point where there was no creativity involved. I put down primer, I put down a base coat, I did certain things for weathering and for washes and for decals and for all of those things. And while the model underneath changed and the colors may have changed, the actual process I was doing was the same over and over and over again. And I got into a rut. Now, yeah, I could have tried to break out of that rut in that genre, but when you change genres, it really makes you think about those things. And I can honestly say, while I considered myself a very experienced modeler when I was building aircraft exclusively, this change of genre and getting to see what others are doing and being introduced to other people in the hobby, people of note, that, you know, and by note, I mean they put up videos, they put up resources, they're the respected ones in their genre, and seeing what they do, I've added those to my methods, and it's been an incredible time of growth. So if only for the challenge of growing, of doing things different, of completely tearing apart the way, the methods that you used before and going with something completely new, I think it's greatly beneficial there, because in the few aircraft I have built since that time, I can look at them and go, these are the best aircraft I've ever done, and I wouldn't have been exposed to the techniques that I'm applying to this aircraft if I wouldn't have made this change in genre and almost completely just rebuilt the way I do things from the ground up. Now, like I said at the beginning, I'm not trying to twist your arm into changing genre. that, you know, oh, you have to build Gundam. I understand that if you don't feel the pull to do it, it may not be fun. Quite a few years ago, when I was, you know, building aircraft, I'd been doing it for 4 or 5 years. A friend of mine said, "Hey, I want to give you this tank model, and you're going to build it, and you're going to love it, and it's going to completely change your whole view of the hobby." You know, he was just so excited about it. So he was so excited about it, and you know, I didn't want to, you know, just be a complete jerk and just reject it. So he graciously sent me a model, and I built it, and I did my best on it. And I showed it to people, and they said, "Yeah, that looks really good. And you know, yeah, it's your first time building a tank, and you might want to try this with weathering and that with weathering. But man, that's a really good first attempt." Everything went good. I was happy with the way it looked. I didn't build any more tanks really because it just didn't interest me. So I get, if you're watching this, and if you're still at this point of the video, thank you very much. But if you're watching it and you're going, "But I just don't feel any pull towards it," that's okay. But the principle, if you're getting bogged down in the genre you're in, maybe it's time to look for something else. Maybe it's not Gundam. Maybe it's Bandai Star Wars. Maybe it's Machine & Krieger. Maybe it's Star Trek models. Maybe it's cars. Maybe if you've been building nothing but Gundam and you're burned out on that, maybe you try an airplane. Maybe you try a tank. Something like that. The point is, every now and then, shaking things up a bit in the hobby, for me, I found was beneficial, and it may be for you too. And I'm a big advocate of Gundam because there's very little about the model itself that fights you. You can just snap it together and have fun with it, and it's easy and it's simple, or you can get as involved as you want, and you're not having to know anything about it. It's just, because technically it's not even a robot. There's a guy inside, if you didn't know. But, you know, you can just look at it and go, it's a big stompy robot, and it was cool to build. So breaking out of that rut may be just the thing you're looking for if you're feeling a little burnout. All right, I guess I need to start getting towards a conclusion at some point. You know, a few years ago, because I didn't know of this genre, I was completely oblivious to it. It wasn't that I ignored it. I didn't really know it existed on the scale it existed. I used to think, you know, that the scale model hobby was going to die out pretty much in my lifetime because, you know, I go to model shows and all the guys are my age or older, and we're shuffling around looking for the bathroom and, you know, arguing over FS colors. And I'm thinking, man, in 25 years, there's not going to be anybody left to sell models to. Then when I encountered Gundam and realized that Bandai has sold 500 million of those things since 1980. They average like 12.5 million a year and have for the last 30 years and don't show any signs of slowing down. In fact, here in the US where I live, they're gaining momentum. I've realized this is where the hobby is going. Now, again, I'm not saying that to say you need to be building this because it's what everybody else is doing. But I say that because it means the hobby will continue to be healthy. Yeah, it'll be a slightly different hobby. In 25 years, there may not be a lot of guys building Spitfires or Panzers or Mustangs or any of those things like that. But there's still going to be people taking plastic and putting it together and painting it and weathering it. And, you know, some of you Gundam guys that are kind of sitting back going, yeah, we're the future. I'm telling you, in about 25, 30 years, a lot of you guys are going to be my age or older, and you're going to be walking into contests, shuffling around, looking for the bathroom, and there's going to be these younger guys coming in, and they're going to be on some different genre, and you're going to be going, who are these young guys? It's going to happen. That's okay. It means the hobby is healthy, and that's a great thing. All right, thanks so much for watching this video. I've done it a little different. I've tried to have a little fun with it. I hope everyone takes it in a sense of fun. I've tried to put in some of my favorite things and people in here just a few allusions to them that I hope are, gave you a laugh or a smile. But more importantly, I hope it's conveyed that Gundam are a great way to kind of break you out of a rut if you're feeling that in your current genre. Or if you're just, maybe you're not in a rut and you're saying, yeah, but that would be fun to add something new to what I have. They're a great way to do it, and there's a lot of resources out there available to help you pick up on the techniques and the differences, because there are a few differences in method for building the models. So I hope this video has kind of made you think about that. Thank you so much for following me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, so if you connect with me there, thank you for doing that. If you have not subscribed, please click down there somewhere, wherever it is, to subscribe and hit the little bell icon. I come out with at least one video a week. Try to do 2, but at least 1, so there's always going to be something new. Click the little bell icon so you'll hear about that. And there's also links below to, well, to all my social media and to my website. There's also one to Patreon. And look back over what I have on my website. Look over the videos that I have here on YouTube. If you like what I'm doing and you want to help me continue doing that, I would be most grateful if you would click on that Patreon link and become a Patreon supporter. And for you guys who are Patreon supporters, thank you so much. It means so much to my family and I that y'all have stepped up. We've got a few more that have come on board in the last few weeks, and I'm so grateful for that. And thank you all so much for supporting me in this work that I do, sharing my love of the hobby with you. And I guess the final thing that I want to share is just simply this. If you're not having fun in this hobby, you're doing it wrong. Happy day to you, friends. Bye-bye.